Uh-oh. Okay. All righty. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to part two of what's going to be a very powerful, unique series of Julia Ulstrup. I didn't say it right, Julia. Say it right for
You
me
said
again.
it correctly, Glenn.
Ulstrup.
Got
Okay,
it.
perfect.
Perfect.
Perfect. If you recall, our first discussion was on TED Talks, and we talked about her photography business and how it's making a difference in women over 50 to have good work done. We want to continue that discussion. Then we're going to have a third discussion when her book is released. But I want to continue that discussion. Julie, how have you been?
I've been great. How have you been, Glenn?
Doing absolutely great. No complaints. I want to make sure I get this one light out of my face here. I think that might help us. All right, that should help. But doing great. Can't complain. I've actually been more aware of women over 50 and some of the challenges that they have, especially when you consider a lot of women over 50 are accomplished in their careers. Tell us, why is this such a focus for you?
Well, I'm over 50 myself, is part of it. However, the focus for me really was born out of this portrait project that I started about a year and a half ago. I started it at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was to celebrate women who are 50 plus and fabulous. And what I realized is that a lot of women, excuse me, have so much to offer, women who are 50 and better, as I like to say, and we're not really seen. We're not seen in the media as much as women of other ages, as much as men either.
Mm-hmm.
We're not seen in, sometimes even out in public. I think I mentioned that last time. And so my idea is really to bring awareness to this, and then also say that it is our responsibility as women over 50 to say, you know what? I'm not going to hide anymore. I have a lot to offer. I have a lot to celebrate, and I want to be seen and I want to be heard, because a lot of times we, women over 50, are saying, oh no, I don't want to be in front of the camera. Oh no, just the kids. We live in a very visual world. And to be seen, we also need to see ourselves. So,
Well, I want you to tell us a little bit more about this concept of not seen, because on the surface, that's kind of hard to follow. I think I kind of understand what you mean, but tell us a little bit more about not seen, and then I want to dive a little bit deeper into some other things.
well, if you take a look in our media, in our, American culture media, women over 50, there's not a lot of, magazines, newspapers, TV coverage, any place mm, where we consume media. Women
Hmm.
over 50 are not, we're not out there that much. We're not shown as being all of the things that we are, which are all of the same things that all of us are. I believe we all have a lot to offer and a lot to share.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right. So we're not, women over 50, not putting that out there. They're not stepping forward in some regards, and they're not being accepted in some regards, what you're saying?
I think that we're accepted. I feel like that we're overlooked, and I think some of that, maybe all of that. Let me say all of that
Okay.
is our responsibility. That is our responsibility to say, yes, I'm worthy of being seen. I'm worthy of, sharing. I have a lot to offer, and for us to show up consistently.
Well, okay. So that is our responsibility, but isn't society kind of shaping this? I mean, I was looking at a research project on that chef show called Top Chef, and there's no one over 35 years old as a contestant on that show.
Yeah.
It took them about 8 to 10 years, I think. Well, I take that back. I don't remember the exact statistics, but after season 18, they only had maybe four winners that were women.
Wow.
And by the way, only one African American man as a winner after 18 years of being on.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
is that what you're kind of saying? We're not being seen, but that the society is setting that up where television only has women 35 or under, and unless,
Hmm.
of course, they have millions of dollars to pay for the surgery and the things like that to keep their face looking like they're 35 or under.
Right.
Is that what you mean by? Is that I don't know. I guess what I'm asking you isn't the society created? Didn't society create that? Isn't society responsible for that?
I think society has created some of it, but I also have seen and had experience with a lot of women who say, I don't want to be photographed. I don't want to, I'm just going to take the picture of my children, or I'm just going to take the picture of my children and my grandchildren. And it starts, you're absolutely right, it starts younger than 50, but I feel like it's our responsibility to say, no, we are worthy of being seen. And there are women in upper management, in politics, in lots of different areas of our culture
Mm-hmm.
that we need to say, yes, we deserve to be seen. We deserve to step up and be noticed and have our seat at the table as well.
Help us walk through this process of we deserve. Okay,
Mhm.
that's an internal process. Like I said, that's the responsibility of women, of men,
Yes.
really, to say we deserve.
Yes.
Your photography that starts that process, but walk us through that process a little bit more of how a woman can discover we deserve. Put yourself in a position, well, you are in the position of running a large company, and you're the CEO of the company.
Hmm.
Coach yourself or who of the imaginary person through that position.
Okay. Well, thank you for calling out that we deserve, because I don't feel that it is um, it's just like, oh, because I'm over 50, I need to be recognized and I need to be. What I believe that it is, to your point, for each woman to say, I have the right to show up and to be seen and to be heard in a way that is in line with who I am, what my values are, and what I have to offer. And Glenn, to your point, I think it's very much an internal process, because there has been, through, probably thousands of years, there's been this idea that if we're in a certain, you know, age range or sector, that we are valuable, and overcoming that and saying, as an individual, saying, I want to be seen, I want to be heard, because I still have a lot to offer, because being over 35 or over 50,
Mm-hmm.
I still have a lot of living to do, and I feel like this is the best time of my life for sure.
Well, I think a lot of folks do, but you had you did some things that created that for yourself early on in life, and well, like your travels. You created that for yourself. You took the responsibility to do that. I guess I'm kind of asking if you put yourself in the shoes of a 55-year-old woman right now.
Hmm.
Maybe she's a senior leader in the company, but she hasn't had that type of experience.
Well, I think that there's a process, an internal process of, if a woman who's over 50 hasn't had experiences in her life that she feels are valuable or that she feels are worthy of sharing, to really dig deep and say, what is it that I have to offer? Because it doesn't have to be only the way that I do it. It can be the way that anybody does it. And
Okay,
it can,
okay.
yeah, it can be however it is. It can be raising a family. It can be having a big career. It can be, being a politician, being an educator. There are lots of ways to serve and lots of ways to really shine in the world.
Tell us again about this process of the photography, how you saw that really changing the portraits, changing women, to get them to kind of say, "Yeah, I deserve to be seen. I am special." Tell us about
Mhm.
that process. Why did that work so well?
Well, I feel like what happened is that There's and I believe I mentioned this before, but there's a clip that I created that is on my website, and I know you've got the links to all of those things. But there's a clip on my website. I spoke with a woman who really did not feel beautiful in her own skin where she was going through, actually going through cancer treatment.
Mm.
And when she saw the photographs of herself, she realized, I'm going to call it the spark within her, you know, her deepest essence, her worthiness of being and showing up and being seen. So I saw that over and over again in big ways. Like I said, there she was willing to do a video clip for me, but I also saw it in ways where women during this project saw themselves in a way that was different than they'd seen themselves in the past. And whether it was powerful or beautiful or sexy or, you know, worthy in some way that
Hmm.
they hadn't realized before. So that was pretty remarkable and pretty incredible.
That is a process. Is there a process inside of the portrait? I mean, are you having them dress in a certain way? Are you having them come with, create a certain attitude while you're snapping the pictures? Are you doing anything inside the session, the studio
Yes,
session?
I am, and thank you for asking that, Glenn. It's funny because I did have a woman here with her family. She came with her adult daughters as well as her adult grandchildren. So she's probably in her 70s or 80s.
Oh,
And
okay.
what it starts before the session starts. It starts creating trust, getting to know people before their session, getting to know the women, who they are, what they want, and how they want to be seen in a portrait, and building that trust in a consultation that I have with people. So this woman who came in with her family, with her adult women daughters, and then
Yeah.
adult woman granddaughter,
Hmm.
and as they're getting ready and having makeup done and, you know, just really feeling beautiful and pampered, this woman, this is funny, and this is a quote. She said, I have never had a portrait taken like this before. She
Hmm.
said, it's always been at church, and it's been wham bam, thank you, ma'am. And
Wow.
nobody wants that. Nobody likes that. You know, that's like the fast food edition of, you know, having a portrait made is a vulnerable experience. And I think people don't realize that. And so taking the time beforehand to really get to know someone and to really build that trust so that a woman can show up authentically and feel safe and say,
Oh,
I can show who I am in a way that's safe and in um, a very contained environment here at my studio.
okay. Okay.
Safety, yeah. I saw the aha for you, or I heard
Yeah.
the aha for you. Yeah.
Well, the reason why, part of the reason why that hit the aha for me, growth happens best in a safe environment.
Yes.
I mean, we can talk about it from a business perspective, from a personal development perspective, whatever perspective you want to talk about it from. Growth will happen best in a safe environment, and
Yes.
safety often means trust. That person has to have trust in you. Trust. She had to have trust in her daughters and granddaughters
Yes.
to take that picture, and she had to kind of just realize she was safe so she could take that step.
Yes.
And that's a very important thing. I, I guess my concern though is that we're missing the point a little bit. And I'm going to say it from kind of a maybe a negative perspective. We men miss that point. You know, if I can do it at 60 plus, why can't you do it? Why can't they do it? It's a mental game.
Hmm.
Is it?
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah, but that seems to short circuit and not be completely truthful. Because now we as men or we as celebrities, not we as celebrities, but celebrities might all be saying, well, I did it, you do it. All you got to do is change the way you think. But that's not how it's built, is it?
Well, I think there's part of that. All you have to do is change the way you think. That's true. And it's going, it's not all you have to do is, as you know, it's changing a mindset. It is saying, okay, this is what I used to believe, or this is what I believe, and saying, hmm, what if I was open to the possibility of wanting something more for myself, or that I don't have to go along with the cultural norm that a woman over 50 has to have surgery, have facelifts, be famous, whatever that story is that we as women or any woman has told themselves about showing up and being seen and being beautiful and powerful, whatever that is to them. It doesn't have to be the societal norm of, fitting in this box, then you're able
Hmm.
to be seen or able to be heard,
You know what a key word you just said? Fitting into the box.
right?
Maybe it's time we all break out of the box a little bit and get out
Yeah,
of it. Well, because the box says 35 is the oldest you can be, or whatever arbitrary number they want to give. You get to a
yeah,
certain point, the box says you can't take a beautiful picture anymore, but you can. You can still be powerful. And you're probably, like you said, way more powerful at 50 than what you were in your 20s or 25s or 30s. Probably way more powerful, a lot more wisdom there. I want to ask you about your upcoming book. I know that's not quite out yet. What are you going to teach in that book?
oh, I'm so excited about this book. So this book it's a collaborative book process, and what it is it's a collection of women who are 50 plus and fabulous. And it is a collaborative book, like I said, with portraits of women that I am photographing,
Mm-hmm.
as well as sharing our stories of inspiration, celebration, and empowerment, because there are a lot of us that are doing things that are maybe against societal norms. And
Oh.
look how we're showing up and look what we're doing. And my hope and dream is that it will be a resource for women to say, oh, look what this woman's doing. How great is that? Look what this woman's doing. How awesome is that? And say, if she, different people, we're going to resonate differently. And we're going to share our stories and share the images of who we are and say, and inspire and celebrate who we are.
It sounds like such a great concept because what we're saying with that concept is everybody is a leader, as a thought leader, and this person may resonate with you, while this person may resonate with you, but you're going to hear different stories about,
Yes,
and then one or two of them are going to resonate with you, or all of them are going to resonate with you. It's a great way to help people learn without really learning because they get involved with the stories, I think.
absolutely. Yeah.
I think that's powerful. So that's how you're going to go about it. What's one, 2 points in the book? I mean, well, better yet, don't give away one great story that's going to be in the book without giving all the details that's going to be in the books. We want people to buy that book when it comes out, but tell us one great story that's going to be there.
One great story. Well, truthfully, we have not started the writing process yet. We are still in the gathering stage of gathering women together to really see who wants to be part of this, who wants to be in the book, who wants to share their story, what are the stories that need to be told. I can share, and again, I don't know if this woman will share this story, but I know one of the women who is choosing to be an author, to be one of our collaborative participants,
Mm-hmm.
um, is a
Mm-hmm.
is a Navy veteran,
Oh.
has served in the armed forces, has been a teacher, and has now started a nonprofit to really help women show up in our community. So there are a lot of really inspiring women, and but I don't know which stories they're going to tell. And I think, Glenn, that's one of the really beautiful things is we have this very deep, very rich experiences that we can distill down to share with the world and really have an impact.
I want to hold your feet to the fire while knocking you off balance. I just kind of was thinking when you're sharing that part, we may have some people who didn't hear the very first part, who haven't heard your TED Talk yet. And that was inspiring to me. Your story is inspiring to me.
Oh, thank you.
So share us a little bit about your story.
The story that I shared in my TED Talk?
Yes,
Because
please.
I have other stories too.
No, let's do the TED Talk one. That way we get people to go back and listen to it who haven't, and then maybe
Okay.
we'll do another. So, but let's talk about that story, because that's the one that I heard that said, you know what, that should resonate with a lot of people. So
Thank you.
share that with us.
Thank you. Well, my story, when a story begins, who knows? But my story, one of the beginnings,
Mm-hmm.
started when, oh my goodness, I got to hold on. Something on my computer just popped up. I apologize for that.
No, that's good.
So part of my story is that I was working as a high school counselor, and across my computer screen flashed an email that said, sabbatical applications are open. And I thought, this is something I wanted to do. I wanted to live overseas for a long time. Long story short, I applied and was accepted to live in Spain. I worked in a community that had a lot of Spanish speakers, and I really wanted to, dive deep into that. While I was living in Spain, I found out about the Camino de Santiago. And the Camino de Santiago, for people who don't know, is an ancient pilgrimage. It's historical, cultural, really, it was an incredible experience for me. And so I decided to walk for 3 weeks on the Camino de Santiago, which is a pilgrim's journey across northern Spain. And I wanted to do it for the experience. I didn't really know what to expect. But at the
Mm-hmm.
time I was running marathons, I thought, okay, this is going to be awesome. It's going to be a hike. I'm going to meet people from all over the world. And that absolutely happened.
Right.
The big thing that happened that I shared in my TED Talk was I was one day after walking probably 12 to 15 miles, I found myself in an albergue in the middle of northern Spain. And the owner, kind of the innkeeper, an albergue is similar. It's kind of a cross between an Airbnb and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, a hostel, something like that. And
Okay.
so he's a Spanish man, and I was the only person in our group who spoke Spanish as well as English. And he asked, would you and your fellow pilgrims like a pilgrim's mass? And
Hmm.
I said yes, knowing that absolutely everybody would want to have a pilgrim's mass. He had permission from the local priest. So we
Right.
walked down to this temple, down this little dirt path, into what looked like an ancient pagan temple, the kind that I saw in my high school history books. Never had
Yeah.
seen anything like this before.
Yeah.
And we walk in, and it's modern day, in the last 2,000 years, Christian church. And he starts saying mass, and he's talking in Spanish, and I understand, and the words are washing over me. And as I'm sitting there on these hard pews, I hear the sweetest song in the most beautiful voice, singing Amazing Grace. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound to save a wretch like me. And tears start pouring down my cheeks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I knew this song was for me, but I also thought that, well, I wasn't really thinking. I was experiencing this magnificent event. And when the mass was over, I started taking some photographs of the church because it's a beautiful place, and I wanted to remember, like I wasn't going to remember
Yeah. This is
that
gonna. Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I walked to the back, and my friend who I was traveling with, I said to him, I said, Tobias, thank you for singing Amazing Grace.
Mm-hmm.
He was sang in his choir at home in Germany, and he looks at me, he says, I wasn't singing Amazing Grace, Julie. And he said, and I said, but you heard it. You heard Amazing Grace. And he said, nope,
Mm,
nobody was singing Amazing Grace. And then the tears started coming more and more because I knew that that song was for me and it's what I needed to hear. That I have so much to offer, that Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound to save a wretch like me. Whatever my mistakes are in the past, it's okay. Where you're going, your future is what's important. And you deserve to shine and you deserve to live the life that you've imagined. And so it was this incredible experience for me. And I came back and decided that I wanted to obviously share that in a TED Talk, but I also wanted to live the life that I had and have imagined. And
hmm
doing what I do now, it took a while to, kind of figure out, well, how is that going to work? What's that going to look like as a photographer? Because I've been a photographer since I was in high school, but I didn't really see how I could connect it with having an impact and making a difference for people, because that's always been something that's important to me. As I mentioned, I was working as a high school counselor, and that
Yeah,
that
yeah,
to me was a pretty easy, like, oh yeah, I'm going to have an impact and I'm going to make a difference in people's lives in that
yeah.
way.
Yep, yep. And you did.
Yeah, yeah. And now I'm able to do it in a different way. So
There's a lot of lessons there. And one lesson that kind of stands out, and I just want to get your thought on this,
yeah.
because there's been more and more thinking, more and more writings and research saying that we need to stop thinking about some of our decisions and start feeling our decisions.
Oh my gosh.
And that's one of the lessons that you went through. You said, I didn't want to think about the experience. I just was feeling the experience. And therefore, that might have opened you up to a much larger level of wisdom and knowledge. Now, I know there's somebody sitting and saying, oh, that's woo woo, but there's a lot of research now saying that the strongest thinking muscle is that feeling muscle that's in your solar plexus, that
Absolutely.
brain there. Do you, how do you feel about that? Is that just woo woo kind of stuff, or do you think or do you feel that that's more appropriate?
So interestingly, living in Spain, one of the phrases that Spaniards use, that my experience was, instead of say, because you just said, Glenn, and then you changed it, you said, well, how do you think about that? What do you feel? And one of the things that when I was in Spain, before I walked on the Camino de Santiago, one of the phrases that Spaniards use is creo que, I believe, instead of pienso que, I think that. So that belief, I feel,
Hmm.
is much more powerful than, okay, much more powerful, equally as powerful. I believe this. And that comes from our heart and from our gut. And I believe that actually, I know that there is a lot of research out now that says that our heart and our gut and our brain all work together to
Yeah.
create our human experience. And
Oh,
there's a lot of wisdom in all of those places.
I like that. They work together to create a human experience, our human experience.
Yeah.
Wow. I like that. That's good. That's good. So now, if I'm going to step up to the plate and I'm going to start making sure that I'm seen,
Hmm.
and I want to go ahead and, do the photography work and do all the different type of work. Photography work, why do you feel that's so important?
Well, I'm a photographer. And
Okay.
it has been a passion of mine since I was very, very young. And part of the reason that I know it's important, nearly 90% of the information that comes in through our sensory perception is visual. And to be able
Mm.
to see that which we are in a photograph,
Oh, that explains so much.
it, it's very, very powerful. And there are days I had my first portrait taken in a very long time, um, 4 or 5 years ago. and I have it large, not super huge, excuse me, about 20 by 24. And it's in my studio, and I see it every single day. And every single day it reminds me of who I am, that essence of who I am. I see myself on my very best day, and it might not be like the very best day of my life. I have lots of really great days in my life, but being able to see that portrait that portrays me as my very best self reminds me that that's who I am, and that every day I can be extraordinary. I can choose every day to be ordinary or extraordinary. And I choose to be extraordinary. That's what I want. That's where I'm going. That's who I am. And that
That
visual
is
reminder is there, that cue.
that is so powerful in so many different ways. And I think about some of the work they've done on how you can take your body and put your body in a certain posture to feel that way before your day gets started.
Yes,
Why not just look at yourself already doing that way?
absolutely. Yeah, there you
That is
are.
so powerful. That is so powerful. And when you do consider that 90% of your information comes to you visually, maybe there should be a whole lot less than that. I'm thinking of Yoda, the eyes can deceive you, don't trust them. But if you have a picture of yourself in a very powerful place, your mind will go back and live that place.
Yes, yes.
Wow. Wow. I wonder if you have a woman who's 50 plus, it might be difficult for them to remember. You said this earlier, you talked about it might be difficult for them to remember what they contribute and how they have made a difference. Do you have a way to help people kind of understand, this is what I've done, this is what I can do, this is the difference I can make in this world, this is why I'm powerful, why I have so much more to give?
Absolutely. And for me, like I mentioned before, that starts with a consultation, and it starts
Hmm.
with a series of questions. I have a natural curiosity for human, it's just a natural interest in human beings and who they are, and what they're about. And so asking those questions, and for me, to really dive deep with them and say, well, how do you want to be seen? What is it that is it can happen pretty quickly for me. Again, I've got a lot of training as a counselor, and I'm naturally curious about human behavior and human emotion.
Mm.
So really asking those
Yeah, that makes a
questions and
big
diving deep,
difference.
and building trust with people. So
That makes a big difference. I hadn't really thought about your skills as a counselor. Now, I know one of your big projects is your book, but what else are you doing right now?
well, now that the pandemic's over, I've been traveling a bit, and I'm continuing to create community and build my business and to grow. So I've got some training coming up where I'm really honing my portrait skills. I believe absolutely in continuing to grow and continuing to have professional development so that I can continue to inspire, celebrate, and empower others. So yeah, so I've got a little bit of travel with some training mixed in there. So yeah,
Okay.
that's
You know,
pretty phenomenal.
that's interesting in a way, and I think this is part of the reason why us over 50 are a little bit more powerful than those under 50. We know we still need to personal develop. At least a lot of us, some of us know. We know that we still need to get better at giving a podcast, at doing photography, at being in front of a room. And we
Yes.
take that training, we have our coaches to do that. You're the coach that's going to help women really break back out and really start to be seen again. How's
Yeah,
it?
that's
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, that's my mission. That's where I am.
Tell us about your traveling. Are you traveling to like different events and talking to people about this, or your travels? How, do you get to support people in your photography business when you travel?
I do. I do, actually. I'm headed to Phoenix for an accreditation, and as I mentioned, really up leveling my photography skills, really becoming better and better, because I believe that's another way to have impact. And so in fact, after the conference, I'm photographing a woman in Phoenix, and we're going to do some business branding for her. She also wants to be part of the book.
Okay.
So yeah, I get to do that as part of my travels. And I believe too, the one-on-one conversations, I also continue to do some public speaking. And so I've got a course that I'm talking tomorrow to a group of women that's called Why Wow, Why Now? And I believe that this is a really powerful time in our history, coming out of the pandemic, coming out of a lot of the things that we have been through in the last year and a half, as a way to say, this is a time for us. This is a time that we really want and need to show up if we want to have an impact. And this is going to be a defining decade, Glenn, for people like you and I who are saying, yes, let's move ahead. Let's share our vision. Let's, have an impact. Let's do what we want to do.
I have a question that I'm asking this for a specific reason, and I'm going to break it out of this podcast and share it, depending
Okay.
on what your answer is. Have you
Okay.
ever considered going to some of these trade shows and associations and sharing your message? Wow, why now? Maybe that message, and then allowing women to come back that evening ready to have their portraits done. Have you ever considered doing something like that?
I have considered doing something like that. Absolutely. I would love to do that. I would love to be on stage and sharing the message of now is the time. Yes. And, grab the ring and let's go. So yes, absolutely. I would be thrilled to participate in an event like that, to do some speaking, and then to photograph women and show them who they are.
I asked that for a couple reasons. Biggest reason I asked that for is for the meeting planners that are starting to join in on this now.
Oh, awesome.
This is something they need to hear. So, of course, all your contact information will be in the description so they can contact and reach out. But talking about breaking out of the box, getting out of the box, that's a powerful piece right there, I would think, that you could present to people and say, here's how you get out of the box. Here's why, wow, and why now. And you want portraits done? Let's do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Let's do it. That'd be great. That'd be great. I asked you this on our TED Talk, and I'll ask you now. So you should be prepared for this question.
Okay.
What question should I have asked you that I did not ask you?
I should be prepared for this, shouldn't I, Glenn?
Yes. Yes, you should.
Maybe the question would be, how can people find out more about the 50 and Fabulous book project?
That is a great question I didn't ask. Tell us more.
People can find out about it. I can share a link with you. It's 50 plus and fabulous. And also on my website, which my information is, I know that you will have that. My website has information about the portrait project. And so anybody can contact me if they're interested in the portrait project. And we can also create they can be part of the book project. Yeah. So perfect. Just to clarify, and maybe this would be another question, women can choose to be part of the 50 and Fabulous portrait project and not be part of the book project. To be part of the book project, they also need to be part of the portrait project. So I hope that's clear.
Well, what you're saying is either you sit down for the portrait by itself or you sit down for the portrait and the book.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. That's so right. Perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to read it when it comes out. And when it comes out, we'll read it, we'll share it. I have a funny feeling that we can take 1 or 2 stories per episode and talk about it and talk about the lessons and break them apart. Are you planning on doing any other TEDx or TED Talk speeches in the near future?
I don't have any TED Talks in my hopper right now.
Okay. Me either.
Yeah, well, that's funny. I was going to ask you if you're thinking of doing another TED Talk. I
No.
am considering applying to the Moth.
Oh, tell us about that real quick.
Well, it's more of a storytelling kind of
Yes.
platform. So I'm thinking about sharing a story. I think that it's due today or tomorrow to what story I'm going to share. And I have a few. Recently, for I'll just give a little, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
I am recovering, and I'm going to show you this. I'm recovering from a broken shoulder.
Good movement there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I broke my shoulder 8 weeks ago,
Oh, wow.
and it was
That's
super
a fast
painful.
recovery.
Yes, and it super kind of a freak accident. And so I'm thinking of talking about break to breakthrough as yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. It's not all created yet, but yeah.
You're good at coming up with titles. Maybe I should come to you for some title help. But breakthrough. That I mean, and first thing, congratulations on the fast recovery. My ex-wife had surgery, and still 16 weeks later, she's still having problems with movement.
Yeah.
So
And I didn't
shoulder
need
surgery.
surgery, luckily.
Oh, okay. So she had to have shoulder surgery, and although it's orthoscopic, she still had a long recovery. But you moved around. You're moving really good. That's fast. 8
That's what my
weeks.
doctor said. Thank
Yeah.
you, Dr. Glenn.
Yeah. So yeah, yay me. No, I only pretend to be a doctor on my podcast, right?
Perfect. It's your
Yeah.
podcast. You can
Yeah. So I
call
can
it
do what I
what you
need
want.
to do. Perfect. Perfect. We will do this again. You're one of the most engaging people who has a lesson to learn. So we'll do this again. And I hope that some of our meeting planners that are listening in reach out to you. I think that's
Oh,
going to be
that would be
perfect.
fantastic.
That'd be perfect.
Yeah, I would love that.
Fantastic. Well, Julie, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here today.
Thank you, Glenn. It's been a pleasure as always.
Okay.